is not something that you have to accept. It's not a dogma. I'm Jewish. Part of Jewish means Judaism believes in this, and then that's what I subscribe to. Judaism doesn't believe in anything. Judaism is not a person. Belief is a verb. Judaism teaches us a context in how to live life. It gives us a way to perceive things. It gives us the principles, the glasses, however you want to look at it. And when you have these tools, you can perceive things very differently. What is the Hebrew word for faith? Emunah, right? What does emunah really mean? The first thing, if you want to know what we believe in and what Judaism teaches, is go to the root word of the Hebrew. Because if you go to the root word of emunah, for those who know the Hebrew letters, is aleph, mem, nun. But the root word of emunah is uman. And uman is a craftsman. It's a skill. Michael Jordan doesn't believe in basketball. He works his way up to that. Itzhak Perlman does not believe in playing a violin. He plays a violin, and he plays it with great skill because he has this innate talent, and he's able to develop it and cultivate it. Emunah, Jewish faith is not about accepting something. It's about working at something. You're not a good Jew if you believe. You're a good Jew if you study. Okay. Because if you study...
Okay, that's good. Shalom, Yisrael, Ya'el, Yohanatan Dawid with you here. Thank you, Sister Jules. I appreciate you for doing that. This is the 5th of March, 2023 of the year of their Lord. I wanted you to hear that clip. It goes on for about 8 to 10 minutes. And I wanted you to hear that because this is exactly what Yahweh Shua is up against. It's about privilege. Yahweh Shua's chosen covenanted peoples, the Hebrews, and they're the Jews, they call themselves the Jews, they say they're the covenant people, but the point is the same, is that we believe that because about Yahweh says, only you have I known. Yahweh only has a covenant with one people to spread his message to the rest of the world, and that is his Hebrew people. And we have taken it to mean that because of that, we have a get out of jail for free, if you will, card, a blank check to do whatever we want. Yirmiyahu 7 verse 4 says, don't trust in lying words. Yahweh says, stand in the gate and tell them, stop trusting in those lying words. Saying the temple, the temple, the temple. We believe that because of the temple, this is why he burned it down, had it sacked several times. Because the access to Yahweh was via the temple. We believe that we, for some reason, no longer had to put our heart and mind and love and passion into Yahweh. Very clinical approach to Yahweh. Very clinical. Very Catholic-like. You ever been to a Catholic service? Did you see an emotion and passion and energy and verve and fire about belief, about heart to what you were learning from the book? Or did you see rote routine? And yes, our Jewish brothers do have passion. Passion for the knowledge of the Torah. But as the rabbi there himself said, and it goes on for about 10 minutes, there's no passion into the relationship of who they are studying about. There's no passion. It's all about, I'm a Jew, you ain't. So, access to the knowledge of the Creator, what they call the mighty one of the universe, is via me, and that's it. We don't have to have our hearts beating like you did when you fell in love with your wife or whomever. This is what Yahweh Shua was going up against, and this is why I was hoping that I could have had this tape clipped to you again. I tried it with a glass onion, and it did not come through real clear. I'm gonna have to do it again. But Miles, and I thank you again. Miles, the movie is The Glass Onion. I keep talking about it because the tenets of it is exactly, again, what Yahweh Shua was going up against. It's very smartly written, whodunit, with a good twist at the end of the plot. I'm going to read the transcript. This is Ed Norton, who, by the way, is from Baltimore, who in the movie, his name is Miles, and he's talking to Daniel Craig. Okay, Daniel Craig is the detective in the movie. And I'm going to read the transcript because this is, again, we're talking about the whole series that I'm going through is Bimilotah, in his own words. This is Yahweh Shua in his own words, sharing the spirit of what he taught us from the Mount Sinai through Moshe. Moshe gave us the letter of the law. Yahweh Shua is giving us the spirit of the law. And right now we're in the second year of his ministry. The sermon, he kicks it off with a bang, with a Sermon on the Mount. And today, the topic is do not judge. Wehal Dean. Do not judge. Now, reading from this transcript of The Glass Onion, here's Miles. I'm going to tell you a little secret. Your world view's going to change. Once you hear it, you can't unhear it. Is your phone turned off? Now remember, several times the Pharisees and scribes literally stopped their ears from hearing what Yahweh Shua had to say and ran towards him to kill him. They didn't want his words even going into their ears. So now Daniel Craig says, "Oh, I left my phone in the car, in the room." So then Edward Norton goes on to say this. Here it is. Here's the tenets of the movie and of what Yahweh Shua is up against. Okay, if you want to shake things up, you start with something small. You break a norm or an idea or a convention, some little business model. But you go with things that people are kind of tired of anyway. Everybody gets excited because you are busting up something that everyone wanted broken up in the first place. That's the infraction point. That's the place where you have to look within yourself and ask, am I the kind of person who will keep going? Will you break more things? Break bigger things? Are you willing to break the thing that nobody wants you to break? Because at that point, people are not going to be on your side. They're going to call you crazy. They're going to say you're a bully. They're going to tell you to stop. Even your partner will say, you need to stop. Because as it turns out, nobody wants you to break the system itself. But that is what true disruption is. And that is what unites all of us. We all got to that line and crossed it. And then Daniel Craig lifts up two middle fingers, gives the F-bomb. And he crosses it like a cross. Wow. I hope you receive that in a deeper way as I have received that, as I'm trying to transfer to you. Yahweh Shua indeed is the man that came to this earth to break the norm. A norm that was not working and people kind of wanted broken anyway. This is why they received his cousin, so-called John the Baptist. They received him because he was breaking the norm, but he didn't go so far as what Yahweh Shua was going, because Yahachanan said he was not the Messiah. So he was not the one that's going to say burn this temple down and it rises up. He was not the one. So they accepted John the Baptist. They even got baptized by him and accepted this, but they didn't go all the way. Yahweh Shua was going all the way to the point where he's saying is, what you know, what you understand is going to change everything. I'm going to break the whole convention of what you know and understand, what your forefathers knew and their forefathers. And all the way back to the time that you covenanted with Yahweh. I'm going to shatter your idea, your understanding, your history of access to Yahweh. I'm going to do that. Then he got 12 people to co-sign on that. And even his partners was like, no, it is not going to be. That's not, they agree with him, but not to go that far. You're not going to die. And Yahushua had to rebuke Peter. He had to go all the way and said, yes, I'm going to do my Father's will. I'm going all the way to shatter this. And nobody was on his side. They say he was crazy. At the cross, or at the tree, he was left alone. Nobody was there, including his own mother. She probably was the last one to leave. Not recognizing that man that came out of her womb, looking like a shriveled up snake, from having his visage marred more than any man. No one was ever brutalized in the flesh as much as this man. We know in the spirit because he gave up his life. If you die for something, you can't do any more than that because you're dead. So we know he already went to the infinity degree with that. But his physical flesh that you can see with your own physical eyes was marred, the record says, more than any man. His own mother didn't recognize her son. Everyone left. This was true disruption. This was the infraction point, the point of no return, when you cannot return back to the way that things once were. And when Yahushua resurrected and laid down that linen cloth, folded it, and put it to the side, and then went out and offered himself, the Bikurim offering, as the way sheaf offering, and Yahweh received it, smelled it, and received the sacrifice of his son, nothing was ever the same again. And Yehonathan Dawid is with you here today, what he called the 5th of March, 2023, the year of their Lord, to tell you this, that your whole understanding of everything about eternal life has changed. You just woke up. Do not stir up your brothers and sisters just waking up with the old blood and stone access to Yahweh. Indeed, the law is pure and perfect and true. What is different is your understanding of it and the understanding of how you are to navigate and operate in it and your relationship with the eternal living Elohim. Shalom Elohim. Peace be on you, my dear brothers. Do not judge. Wehaldin, that's the topic today. Oh, Yahweh, help me get this through. Help me get this through. The law, indeed, is perfect. That's what the record says. But is it complete? Is that all you need? Is the law? That means if you complete the law, then Yahweh owes you. You go into heaven. He owes you. You just kick the door down, tell him get off the seat you sit on because he owes you because you kept it all. But what makes it complete is his son, who is the only one who has never sinned. And as we get access of Yahweh via his son, we enter him, he enters us, and he purifies us, even as we are pure. And then we have access to his Father. His Father does not consume us, sons of Jacob, sons of Jacob, because Yahweh indeed is faithful. He will not destroy you because he sees not you and your resume of goodness, but he sees his son, his perfect son. Indeed, Yahweh made Adam perfect, but was he complete? He was not complete until he became fruitful and multiplied, which was his calling to do, to multiply and to share to his offspring what Yahweh gave to him, that I am and there is no other. There is no other but me. No one higher, no one greater. I am Yahweh all by myself. I live in your praise, but I do not need your praise to live. We do know the book of Revelation says that there's a space of a half an hour of complete silence on heaven and earth. Yet Yahweh still exists. That's a powerful statement that I'm sure went over your head. That even with complete silence over all the creation for a space of a half an hour, Yahweh still is. He still is. And there is no other. As a matter of fact, he raised his right hand and had to swear to himself, because there was no one higher to swear to, that he will rule over you. you indeed will have to go under the plumb line and be purified. Yahweh's will be done on earth as it is in heaven, on Eretz as it is in Shemayim, because he must reign, and he will do so on this earth via the personage of Dawid for one day, to prove to all the creation, even though y'all don't have to prove nothing. He ain't got to prove jack to us. Did you hear him, or did you not read the book of Job when he had to put everybody in their place? But he will do that and show that when you get the accuser out of the way, you're going to have one day, 1,000 years of bliss. But then, did you notice that there is an end? At the end, then you have eternity under Yahushua, because the beast will be the accuser will be let free, and again, he deceives the whole world. So that shows, even with perfect completion of the Torah, the only thing you get out of it is long life. There is nowhere in the script where you are promised eternal life by keeping the 600 plus mitzvot. You're only promised long life. You get eternal life in the eternal one, in his son, Yahushua. In his son, Yahushua. There is no name given to men under heaven by which we must be saved. At the name of Yahushua, every knee will bow and every tongue will confess that he is sovereign over all. And then he will lay all things down at his Father's feet, and Yahweh will be one in all and all. And so we will ever be with him. We will be like him, because we will see him as he is. This is the tenet. If you believe that, we are all in one accord. We're all together. We might keep the feast days differently. We may dress differently, call his name differently, because he honors his word even above his name. That's what the record says in Psalm 138. His word is above his name. So even the name, you're not getting in by calling on Yahweh. There's going to be, who knows, probably billions or millions at least saved in the name of Lord God Jesus Christ. You ain't getting in calling on Yahweh. You're getting in by accepting his son. And his son is only separated for anything else by his third day resurrection. The only sign given to those who are faithless is that he resurrected in the third day. There is no other sign that says he is who he is. Not a good man. He is the son of the eternal living Elohim. Pastor Mike gave a beautiful lesson. I hope y'all calling in on Friday nights, 7 o'clock, his Bible lessons. I'm going to give the phone number out again. Yahushua Ministries. The number is 516-253-3286. And then on Shabbat day at 11 o'clock. And then the regular sermons about around 1 o'clock. 516-253-3286. If you want to hear unleavened preaching of this word. One of the things he, in short, talked about was in Matthew 12, 43 to 45. And Yahushua healed the demoniac, and the person's house was clean, but they got infiltrated again. I want to read that, the narrative at the end of it. Yahushua speaking, B'milotah, in his own words. When an unclean ruach goes out of a man, he goes through dry places, seeking rest and finds none. Then he says, I will return to my house from which I came. And when he comes, he finds it empty, swept, put in order. Then he goes and takes with him 7 other ruachim, or ruach, more wicked than himself. And they enter and live there. And there the last state of that man is worse than the first. So will it also be with this wicked generation. You got people who accept him, but how do you get infiltrated again? Well, book of Revelations, let's read that. What is it? Revelation 3:20. We already know it. I go there. Look, I stand at the door and knock. And if anyone will open the door, I will come into the door and sup with him and he with me. So if you're going to clean your house, you have to fill that vacuum with something else. That vacuum is his only begotten of the Father, the express image of Yahweh, his son Yahweh Shua. Open it, he's knocking at the door. Open it, let him in. Let him fill that void of all the demons he extracted from you. Of drugs and cigarettes and sexual immorality or whatever. Whatever we had, gluttony, sloven, laziness, gambling, whatever it is, whatever issues we are dealing with. He cleans the house for us. We must then let him in to fill the bayet, fill the house, fill the mikdosh, the worship space. Fill it with him. Because if you don't, not only will that demon comes back, but he's going to bring some brothers right along with him. And the last state is worse than the first. You know, I've seen people actually go through, people who had problems with their weight, had the operation where they get their stomach reduced or whatever they had. I've seen several people had that done that I know. One of them actually died because they didn't change their behaviors. I have not, with my own eyeballs, witnessed any person who've had that suction done or whatever the operation done to lose weight actually get and keep that weight, that lower weight. They actually got bigger or stayed big, or one of them I know actually died. Because what they did was, for them, the demon possession was gluttony. They had their house clean through a medical procedure, but they did not fill the void with a healthy feeding lifestyle. I do know a nurse right now who looks good. She survived COVID and had to lose weight, and she lost, wow, I know minimum 100 pounds, probably even more. And she's still overweight, but she looks healthier. She's walking. She's doing well. I don't see her there smoking. She's looking good. She didn't go get an operation. She just changed the way she engages with food and activity. The house was clean. She replaced it with something clean and didn't leave it void. And she's walking and living and breathing this day. Unless she is. I just saw her yesterday or 2 days ago. So this is what this is talking about. Now, bless Yahweh for that lesson given to the flock by Pastor Mike. Psalm 19:7, I said indeed that the Torah is perfect, just like Adam was created perfect, but that is not enough because Yahweh desires relationship. That's why he made a creation to have a relationship with it. And he wants us to learn of him via our limitness, with our limits. He's limitless, and he made us to explore him, to learn of him, to engage in him, and to learn of him. Then to teach of him, and then to be increased and gained by him. It's a beautiful process. This is why he did not create man and woman, and then the next man and woman, and then the next. He's then passed the baton off to us. We can do so we can enjoy that creation process and the teaching process with children and the ever learning process that we go through day by day through intimate relationship with him in our mikdosh, in our secret learning place. Yehonatan Dawid here, Yahweh for Christians, streaming live on MyTunes Radio, WFBR 1590 AM. Please, I have about 170 videos. Subscribe. There are hundreds of people listening to me right now who tune in, but only 52 on the channel. Please add to those numbers. Subscribe and like. I don't ask for money. I'm not asking for anything. Just add to the numbers. Please. This ministry, I believe, is unique in what it purports. I don't know of any other that does this. I'm not out here talking about the current events, what's going on, and political stuff. I mention them as needed, but you got other places to turn to what's going on politically, to what's going on with sports, or health issues, or financial whatever. You've got plenty of places to go on to for home improvement and financial improvement and whatever kind of motivational topics are out there. But you only have one place to go where you see the passion and unleavened love of Yahweh Shua HaMashiach. Like our Jewish brothers before in this program before, do you hear that the passion that you get from that program to this one? It's a different kind of presentation. It's all about the temple, the temple, the temple. It's not about the passion. It's about I have exclusive access to Yahweh. I have the knowledge, and that's all I need. Good luck trying to get into eternal life with that. Good luck. No offense is intended by me or this ministry in anything I do. No offense intended. Some offense is received, but so be it. So be it. Colossians. So let's talk about this perfect. I haven't gotten to do not judge yet, and I might, it's almost 30 minutes, I might not even get to it. So be it, because I've got a check right here all paid up for next month. Colossians 4:12. And I told it y'all for the few that do support. Let's see. Joe, I hear you out there. 4:2. No, 4:12. Epaphras, who is one of you, a bondservant of Messiah, greets you always, laboring fervently for you in prayers that you may stand perfect and complete in all the will of Yahweh. You see, Shaul said we need to be perfect and complete in the will of Yahweh. You've already accepted Him, you've been baptized, you've been purified. You are perfect, that's fine. But you're not complete. Because, like I said, when a baby is born, the baby hasn't done anything. Hasn't sinned, hasn't done anything, but it still needs to grow and learn and bond and create. It needs to fulfill its purpose. And we all have unique gifts and talents to share to someone else. James 1:4. But let patience have its perfect work, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking nothing. You are lacking. Adam would have been lacking if he, being created perfect, living to this day, having sinned, 6,000 years now, still haven't produced one child. 6,000 years. Not fulfilling what Yahweh told him to do. The first commandment given to all the creation, all of them, the animals and everything, was to be fruitful and to multiply. That was the first commandment given. Deuteronomy 25:15 says, hey, you be just in keeping this law for the purpose of long life. Not eternal life. Eternal life comes from the ruach of the law. Isaiah 42:14. Still haven't even gotten to today's topic. Do not judge. Isaiah 42:14 through 20. I have held this is Yahweh's promise of help. I have held my shalom a long time. I have been still and restrained myself. Now I will cry like a woman in labor. I will pant and gasp at once. I will lay waste the mountains and hills and dry up all their vegetation. I will make the rivers coastlands. I will dry up the pools. I will bring the blind by a way they did not know. I will lead them in paths they have not known. I will make darkness light before them and crooked place straight. These things I will do for them and not forsake them. They will be turned back. They will be greatly ashamed, who trust in carved images, who say to the molten image, you are almighty ones. Hear, you deaf, and look, you blind, that you may see. All right, remember now, this is Yahweh promised for help and pleading to his people. Remember, he says, you only have I known. He didn't make no covenant with any other peoples. No Japanese, Chinese, no Eases, no Russians, nobody from England, and nobody from over here. Who is blind but my Eber, my servant, or deaf as my messenger, whom I send? Who is blind as he who is perfect? There you go, perfect. Psalm 19:7, I think it is. The law is perfect. who is perfect, all right? Now he didn't say, Yahweh planted us a good vine. He created us a perfect thing, okay? He's saying we're perfect, right? And blind as Yahweh's servant. We're his servants. Seeing many things, but you do not observe. Opening the ears, but he does not hear. Are your ears still dumb, deaf? Is your mouth still dumb? Are your eyes still blind? Here, over 2,000, this what? 4,000 years after this, about when this was spoken. Are you still to this day blind, dumb, naked, and poor? The record says over 7 times, he who has an ear, let him hear. Yahweh says his servants, his Eber, are blind and deaf. You do not hear. You do not see. Right now, I'm restraining my normal loud roar, yelling and talking with earnestness and gravity and faithfulness and patience and heaviness of heart. That Yahweh's people who are waking up by the thousands per day, probably even by the millions, I don't know, but by the thousands per day, waking up and putting on themselves yokes, heavy yokes, and bondage of chains on their wrists and ankles with blood and stone, that their forefathers even couldn't keep. Then, to make it worse, they're going to go ahead and wake up their wives, because who hasn't woke up yet, or their brothers and sisters or cousins or anybody on the street who want to hear them yelling and screaming foolishness, to do the same thing. To do the same exact best you can get lifelong thing, and then death of blood and stone. When Yahweh Shua says, accept me. Accept me. I'm knocking at the door. Open it up and let me come in. Oh, you didn't understand the washing of the feet. He says this is a new thing you don't understand. He said it, washing the feet. He said you don't understand it right now, but you will. Well, now you should understand 2,300 years later what the washing of the feet meant. You don't clean with blood. You clean with water. You clean with water. Over in your land of captivity, trying to keep 600 plus mitzvot and make others lead others into the ditch with your blindness. With your blindness. Yahweh is getting tired of it. I know I am. And he is going to finalize. He says, I will rule over you with an iron hand. He said he's going to make you do it. He's going to make you do it. Because your neck is too stiff for those who insist on bringing in front of his face, under his nose, your resume. That's why you know what? I keep going back and forth this before I go to the next lesson, because I must have it clear, because you're not looking at the videos. Last one, only 31 watched it. Help me, Yah. Philippians 3, 2, 3, 11. And I might go on to today's lesson. Philippians 3, 2, 3, 11. Beware of dogs. Beware of evil workers. Beware of the mutilations. Because we are the circumcision who worship Yahweh in the Ruach. In the Ruach. Rejoice in Hamashiach Yahweh Shua, and have no confidence in the flesh. Though I also might have confidence in the flesh, if anyone else thinks he may have confidence in the flesh, and you're going to go ahead and try to hold up your resume against, hold up against Shaul's. He says, I'm more so. If you just want to talk about it on a horizontal level, you want to go ahead and whip it out and go see who's more righteous and who got confidence. Y'all, Shaul says, okay, I'm going to go ahead and show you mine. Circumcised on the 8th day of the stock of Yisrael. You born in East Baltimore somewhere. Of the tribe of Benjamin. You don't even know what tribe you came from. I don't care how many Judah hats and t-shirts you buy. You don't know where you came. You don't know what tribe you came from. We are mutts, mixed mutts, not thoroughbreds. Shaul knows in the temple, the whole genealogy of Yahweh's people was there. That's why it's burned down now. One of the reasons why Yahweh had it burned down. So now nobody can point to it and brag about their genealogies. Stop it. And your melanin does not say you are Hebrew. And your lack thereof does not say that someone is not Hebrew. Not Ibarit, covenant to Yahweh. This is now a spiritual thing. You did not even understand the whole thing about Yusuf's coat that Yaakov made up. And you follow Yahweh for Christians, you understand about that coat. I read on. So I'm from the tribe of Benjamin, a Ibarit of the Ibarites. I mean, I'm a Hebrew of Hebrews concerning the Torah. This man was taught by Gamaliel. He says, I'm a Hebrew of Hebrews. So I'm a top 1%er. You sitting here just woke up wearing fake seats. Still belch with shrimp on your breath. He says, concerning the law, I'm a Hebrew of Hebrews, a Pharisee concerning zeal. This man has zeal and passion, not like what you heard in the opening of today's message. Oh, it's just about me having the law. It ain't about love, it's about learning. Shaul says, no, he has zeal and passion. This is why Yahweh had to knock him off his horse and had that zeal and passion redirected to what was proper, the narrow way. He says he persecuted the faith concerning the righteousness which is in the law, blameless. Again, the Torah is blameless. It's those who keep it who are blameful, keeping it according to the letter, according to the circumcision. He said, your acceptance of the Messiah Yahweh, this is what he said, is your circumcision. It's a spiritual circumcision, not a fleshly circumcision. And I know a brother who got fleshly circumcised after learning this way. A total waste of time. Unnecessary. Unneeded. Am I clear? Speaking it, the language of slavery that you know. English. Are we clear? Are we clear? Toda Yah. So, can I now go on with today's lesson? Let me see. Nope. Last week, in the Sermon on the Mount, remember this launched the second year of Yahweh's ministry, this Sermon on the Mount. And he last week talked about, in chapter 6, about doing our charity in secret. I love that word charity, because charity is an action word. It means, again, when you say the word love, it's kind of amorphous, kind of gray. Love you, it sounds sweet and emotional. But charity means, I love you and I can prove it to you by this is what I did. I did an action. You read that in Matthew 25 about the sheep and the goats. They did an action or they didn't do an action. It was an action. Love is an action word. It's not no sweet, syrupy, emotional feeling word. Your feelings don't mean jack. Action speaks louder than words. Then Yahshua goes about talking about praying in secret. Not praying to get someone else to give you kudos, for someone else to see. He talked about proper fasting. Not fasting trying to outdo someone else. Not fasting for someone else to see. Not broadcasting, I'm fasting. Who gives a flip about your stomach? Then he talks about laying your treasures up in heaven. Because where your heart is, that's where your treasures are. No one can see. Your heart is inside of your chest. The root of a matter reveals the fruit of a matter. Yahweh is here on the mountain teaching the root of the matter. Something their ears never heard of before, which you're going to again hear about today. Then Yahweh says you can only serve one master. Yahweh Shua says you can't serve two masters. You're going to love the one or hate the other, or hate the one and love the other. There's no such thing as two simultaneous covenants. You cannot serve the tenets of Moshe and the tenets that Yahweh Shua is laying down today. You can't do both. You can't do both. Then he goes on and says, ultimately, don't worry. Don't have fear. See, fear stifles your growth. Fear seizes movement and growth. And understand, Yahweh Shua said, don't have fear. Don't have fear. Now with the 20 minutes or so I have left, I do want to go into do not judge, Wehal Din. The narrative begins in Matthew 7. The Sermon on the Mount, as y'all call it. In his own words, this is the man himself speaking. Verses 1 through 5 talks about self-examination. And it reads, judge not that you be not judged. Because with what judgment you judge, you will be judged. And with the measure you use, it will be measured back to you. And why do you look at the speck in your brother's eye, but do not consider the plank in your own eye? Or how can you say to your brother, let me remove the speck from your eye, and look, a plank is in your own eye? Hypocrite! First, remove the plank from your own eye, and then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your ox eye. Do not give... Okay, now stop right there. And don't we see this a lot? Right there on the corners, right on the airways, right on the radio, anywhere in social media. Laughing and pointing the fingers at someone else's level of understanding. As if you was born into this thing. Like you weren't there at one time. Laughing and mocking one another. And being brutally harsh. We are supposed to have discernment so we can properly engage. Any correction or interaction we give to someone must be born out of love, for edification and not for tearing down. We edify one another. Sword sharpens sword. Clothes do not get cleaned by any other way but by agitation. Your clothing, you put them in the washing machine, look at them. They get agitated and they come out clean. So I'm not saying let people do what they want to do, who you have influence or responsibility to. Exercise your responsibility. Exercise the gifts that Yahweh gave you to correct and instruct in love. That's what Yahweh Shua is saying. What they were seeing was not that. That if they didn't follow the line, they were thrown out of the temple. Verse 6. Do not give what is kodesh to the dogs, nor cast your pearls before swine, lest they trample them under their feet and turn and tear you in pieces. Have discernment about who you're giving this special knowledge to. Don't waste your time with a fool. What's going to happen is you're going to lower yourself to be a fool, arguing back and forth. Then who really is the bigger fool? I like what the pastor said. He said, when you go into a situation, already you need to discern is what is the outcome, what is the plan, what's the planned outcome of this interaction. And I find myself having to be more conscientious of that, because quite often I find myself down a road that was unintended. They had good intentions in the desperately wicked heart that we don't even know our own heart. What we need to do is stop and slow down and look and consider what is the ultimate goal in this interaction. And that quite often might end up stopping the narrative in the first place, stopping the interaction in the first place. Or at the very least, let us go through it more methodically, with more wisdom, and with more discernment to have a better chance of getting the outcome. We don't have control of outcomes. What we have control is how we deal with what is given us. Do not cast your pearls to swine. Now, verses 7 through 11 about asking and receiving. Ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and it will be open to you. Because everyone who asks receives, and he who seeks finds, and to him who knocks it will be opened. Well, what man is there among you who, if his son asks for bread, will give him a stone? Or if he asks for a fish, he will give him a serpent? If you, then being evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father who is in heaven give good things to those who ask him? Therefore, whatever you want men to do, wow, that's the kicker right here. I'm going to say that one. So what Yahweh was saying is clear. Your child comes home from school and wants a snack. You going to give them poison? No. You love your children. You give them something healthy to eat. Hey, right there on the table. You got bananas, oranges, apples, grapes. Whatever they choose is going to be good. You don't care what they choose. Because you gave them choices that only end up in what's good for them. So they go ahead and they say, I want to have a bunch of grapes today. And you know, Yahweh sure, this is his word. Say, you being wicked or you being evil, do good things for those who ask of you. But I'm Sadiq. I'm pure. I'm Kodesh. I'm perfect. And you won't ask me for something? You're going to try to handle it yourself? You're going to try to take care of it yourself? Come to me. Come to me with your arms open up. Don't pray like you've been taught in Catholicism with your hands all smashed together and your fingers pointed to the sky, your middle fingers giving him the middle finger. That's what it does. With your head facing down to the earth, Yahweh Shua rose from the grave many centuries ago. He ain't down there. What are you looking down there for? Look up to Hashemayim. Arms open, hands open. Can you receive anything with your hands closed? You asked me for $20 and you got your fist balled up. Well, I guess I'm going to keep my $20. You have to open your hand to receive. Yahweh sure wants you to open your hands, open your mouth, look up, call on to him, your Father, and ask whatever you want. And you got to ask and you receive. He's a good Father. He ain't like us. That's what he said. Here's the kicker. In verse 12, I believe it's like the linchpin, the crux of the shattering of the glass onion. To me, this is the infraction point. Matthew 7:12 is the infraction point. This is what shatters the glass onion. This is what they've never practiced before. And that is this, what we call the golden rule. This is in his own words. Therefore, whatever you want men to do to you, do also to them. Because this is the Torah and the Nabaim, the law and the prophets. Everyone there at the base of the mountain believes in the law. They believe in Moses. They believe in Jeremiah, Hezekiah, Zechariah, Isaiah, Malachi, all of them. They believe in the prophets. Yahweh Shua says, let me go ahead and sum it up right here. This is what he said. His word said, keeping the whole law and following the tenets of what all the prophets taught and prophesied about is this. Look to your left. Look to your right. Look in the front. Look in the back. All y'all people out there. About 15,000 plus of them at the base of this mountain. Do to each one of these people you see, do to them the same thing you would done to you. Then you have found yourself in proper relationship with me and keeping what I have told you to keep. Do unto others you would have them do unto you. That is keeping the law. And that's what the sheep did in Matthew 25 when he says, get here on my right side. That's what the goats didn't do, who he said, get on my left side. And you eternally lost, burned in hell. That's his words, not mine. In fire that was prepared for the devil and his angels. Never prepared for people. Never prepared for men made after Yahweh's image. It was prepared for the Hasatan and his minions. But those who live by the golden rule, treating people right. Treating people right is the beginning of the word righteous. Treating people righteously. That's not my words. That's what he said. If you do that, you have kept the law. Stop trying to make your wife keep the Shabbat because you just woke up and you just started keeping it. She's going to do it her way or do it. You got to have patience. Y'all have patience with your sinning butt. Doing what you wanted to do. For however long you just woke up because you got a smartphone and was able to Google some stuff and look up some stuff. Stop it. The sermon goes on. Go down to verses 13 and 14. Yahweh Shua himself speaking. Enter by the narrow gate, because wide is the gate and broad is the way that leads to destruction. And there are many who go in by it. Because narrow is the gate and difficult is the way which leads to life. And there are few who find it. Very few. Because there's few people who are going to want to live by this tenet. They want to go by their way of seeing things. They want to box Yahweh in their way. You know, it's easier for an hour to be very busy and active for 1 hour than it is to sit still and be quiet for 1 hour. It's much more easier to do hard work than to do no work. Try to sit still for an hour and just meditate. See if you won't fall asleep. You'll have a hard time. It takes practice. But in the quietness and the stillness, do you hear the voice of Yahweh Shua? He's always speaking, but what happens is we're too busy to hear it. We're too active in doing our ministries, to doing our good works, to doing what we see is what is right, to even hear what he has said. Or you didn't understand what he told Elijah when Elijah was in the cave. I guess you didn't understand it. Elijah had to learn it himself, and Elijah went to heaven. Elijah had to learn, you know what? Yahweh's voice is in the quietness and in the stillness. It is not in loudness. So broad is the way even for the Hebrews. Remember, out of the 10 virgins, 5, they were all virgins, only 5 were wise, 5 were foolish. Remember that. The sermon goes on. This glass onion shattering sermon goes on in verse 15 to 20, talks about the root of a matter. Okay? Beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravenous wolves. You will know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes from thorns, bushes, or figs from thistles? Even so, every good tree bears good fruit, but a bad tree bears bad fruit. A good tree cannot bear bad fruit, nor can a bad tree bear good fruit. Every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. Therefore, by their fruits will you know them. You think you all this and all that? Then why are you doing bad works? Self-righteous works. Well, then that means your heart, which is desperately wicked, that even you don't even understand your own heart. We don't understand our own heart. But Yahweh is the heart knower. And if you don't produce good fruit, he says, I'm going to cut you down. I'm going to cut you down. In the meantime, accept his pruning. He's just pruning us to be more fruitful. Accept that pruning. Accept the molding and shaping. Accept the pain of being corrected and instructed. Accept the slap on the jaw. All instruction is meant in love. It may hurt, but it's a temporary thing. Learn from it and produce good fruit. Produce good fruit. And it takes discernment from you to be able to understand someone else's fruits. And you can't have discernment unless you spend time abiding in Yahweh Shua. Time of quietness and stillness and faithfulness on a routine matter with him. so you can have discernment with your eyes on someone else's stuff and not be a judge, as we started this narrative out, a false judge or a wicked judge. It's the difference between judging and discernment. Keep your judgment to yourself and use Yahweh. Dawid says, Yahweh, search me out. He said, I'm on the block first. You must first look in the mirror and be honest to yourself. Judge yourself. That's what you do. If you want to do some judgment, judge yourself. Leave your brother and sister alone. That's not my words. I read it from the book, straight from the man's mouth, who created your mouth. Verse 21 through 23 goes on. Now everyone who says to me, Master, Master, will enter to the kingdom of heaven, but he who does the will of my Father in heaven. Many will say to me in that day, Master, Master, have we not prophesied in your name, cast out demons in your name, and done many wonders in your name? And then I will declare to them, wow, this hurts. Talking about hurting. I never knew you. Depart from me, you who practice lawlessness. Look at this. When you hear this, when you read this, do not think of it as being Hebrews and Gentiles. No. These are all Hebrews he's talking about, who prophesied in his name. Not Lord God Jesus Christ. These are the ones who prophesied in your version of what you call Hebrew. These are people who did works in his name. What BFD? Did not Yehuda, Judas, who betrayed him, cast out demons? So what? Your works and prophesying. Didn't King Saul, the first king of Israel, didn't he prophesy? They thought he was a prophet. Your special works, speaking in tongues, and even healing, cast out demons, that resume will not get you in the kingdom. You still too busy thinking because you Hebrew, the temple, that you getting in. You black and you in. He white, he's out. He's Jew, he's out. You still judging. And you're going to find the door closed in your face. Because this thing says here, right here, in his words. The sheep on the right, he said, well done, you good and faithful servant. Because you did good works, not knowing you was doing it to me. But for those on the left, who was keeping 600 plus mitzvot, he was told, you going to the hell, preparing for the devil and his demons. He said, I never knew you. Even though you was a virgin, you didn't have enough oil to wait for me. You had to go back out to the world to buy more oil. And when you came back, the door was shut. So all your virginous works meant nothing. I pray to Yahweh that this ministry is not about me. It's not about anything that lifts me up. When I'm out here stuttering and stammering, and I'm challenged with I don't know how to do IT. And I'm thankful for the help I get here at the station. Because I'm challenged. Because it's not about me. And then I'm going to have to finish this off next week because see my time's running out. That he says you're going to build on the rock. And the people will start. So we're going to do that next week. But I want to, once again, I want you to stay tuned. Keep it locked where you got it. For my main man, Ron Davis, who comes in about 30 minutes. Mighty man of Yah, preaching this word. And again, Pesach is on April the 4th, 6:12 p.m., which is really April the 5th. And Shalom Elohim, peace be on you. Yahweh for Christians. Shalom Elohim.
Keep on learning, soldier. Keep on moving. Keep on turning.